I'm Ilara Arshadzio, and I'm holding a tray of champagne glasses in a room that's supposed to be my home. But I'm not a guest. I'm staff. Tonight is the Harrington Legacy Gala, a massive, glittering monument to my father, Arthur Harrington, the man who has never once, in 29 years, called me his daughter. My mother, his wife, Isabella, just glided past me, her $10,000 silk dress brushing against my plain black uniform. She didn't look at me. She never does. My half-brother, Marcus, the 32-year-old golden heir, is holding court by the fireplace, accepting praise for an empire he did nothing to build. My half-sister, Serafina, is documenting her own glamour for her millions of followers, and I am the ghost at the feast, the family's open secret, the living, breathing proof of the patriarch's one great indiscretion. I keep my back straight, my expression perfectly blank as I weave through the city's elite, offering them drinks. Where are you watching from today? Let me know your city in the comments below. And if you've ever been made to feel invisible in your own life, hit that like and subscribe button. You will want to stick around to see what happens next. The thing about being a billionaire's dirty secret is that you learn to live on scraps of dignity. I was born in this house, in the very wing the staff occupies. My mother was a housekeeper here, a brilliant young art student from Ireland. She died when I was 2. A tragic accident involving a fall down the main stairs was the official story. From that day, I was raised by the staff. In the staff quarters, I had a small, windowless room in the attic, while Marcus and Serafina had entire suites. They went to elite boarding schools in Switzerland. I was driven to the local public school by one of the groundskeepers. They had lavish, themed birthday parties that were featured in magazines. I'd get a new pair of winter shoes, presented to me by the head housekeeper, Mrs. Davies, a practical gift from Mr. Harrington. She'd say, avoiding my eyes, my childhood was a chorus of Ilara. The silver needs polishing. Ilara, assist Mrs. Harrington's guests with their coats. Ilara, why can't you simply be grateful for the roof over your head? I was a constant reminder of their shame, a stain they couldn't scrub out. So they just ignored me, hoping I'd fade into the wallpaper. Only Arthur Harrington, my father, showed me any flicker of humanity. It was never public, never a kind word at the dinner table, where I was only present to pour water. But books would appear on my small attic desk. Advanced physics textbooks, classic literature, biographies of great engineers. When I graduated high school valedictorian, not that they noticed, a letter was waiting for me. An acceptance to a state university. All expenses paid by an anonymous trust. I knew it was him. It was his quiet, cowardly way of easing his conscience. You have a brilliant mind, Ilara, he told me once. The only time we were ever truly alone. I was 10, and he'd found me in the library, attempting to fix a broken antique clock. He looked startled that I knew how. Don't let this house dim that. He never spoke to me like that again. I left the day I turned 22. My engineering degree in hand. I didn't say goodbye. I just packed my single suitcase, which contained mostly books, and walked out the service entrance. For 7 years, I built my own life. I got a job at a small but innovative tech firm. I worked my way up to project manager. I had my own apartment, my own friends, my own future. I was finally free. Then, 3 months ago, the call came. Arthur was dying. Pancreatic cancer. Aggressive and final. Isabella, in a rare moment of direct communication, had ordered me to come back. He's asking for you, she'd said, her voice dripping with disgust. It's your duty to be here for his final days. It's the least you can do. So I came, not for him, and for the past 3 months, I've been living in my old attic room, watching him fade, and slipping right back into my old role as the family ghost. Which brings me to tonight. Serving champagne. Invisible. Arthur is too weak to be here. He's upstairs in his medical bed, listening to the speeches over an intercom. Marcus steps up to the podium, his face flushed with self-importance. Tonight, we celebrate my father. He booms, his voice echoing. His eyes scan the crowd and then, with deliberate cruelty, they land on me. A cruel smirk plays on his lips. He built an empire from nothing. An empire dedicated to family, to legacy, to a purity of vision. He raises his glass, his gaze still locked on me. To the Harringtons, a name untainted, a future secured. The toast is a slap in the face, a public execution of my identity. And he knows it. I feel hundreds of eyes turn my way, the whispers starting up like snakes in the grass. I don't flinch. I don't cry. I just hold the tray steady, my knuckles white. The party finally ends. It's long after midnight, and I'm in the grand library alone, collecting stray glasses. I'm exhausted. The humiliation from Marcus still burning hot under my skin. I'm about to head to my attic room when a voice stops me. Ms. Vance. I turn. It's Mr. Thorne, the family's lead attorney for 40 years. A stiff, formal man who has never spoken more than 2 words to me. I use my mother's last name, Vance. His face is grim in the dim light. I was instructed to find you the moment the gala concluded. My heart zeitzes. Is it Arthur? Is he? Thorne nods curtly. Mr. Harrington passed away peacefully at 11:05 p.m., just as his son was giving that speech. A cold, strange emptiness hits me. The man who was my father, but not, is gone. I am sorry to hear that, I say, the words feeling hollow and useless. His death triggers several protocols. Turn continue. Looking away. He seems deeply uncomfortable. He reaches into his heavy leather briefcase and pulls out a single, heavy, old-fashioned skeleton key, attached to a simple leather fob. He instructed me to give this to you, and only you. Immediately upon his death, I stare at the key. It's ornate, and I've never seen it before. What is it? Thorne glances around the empty library, as if afraid of being overheard even now. It's the key to his private, original study. The one in the West Wing. The one that has been sealed and locked for over 20 years. He then hands me a thick, heavy envelope, sealed with dark red wax. My name, Elara Harrington, is written on the front in my father's shaky, spidery hand. My breath catches. He never used that name. What's this? I whisper, my fingers trembling as I take it. I do not know the contents. Thorne is this. His voice low and professional. But his final words to me on this matter were very specific. Give her the key and the letter. The rest is for her to decide. It's time they finally knew the truth. For a full minute, I just stand there in the dead silence of the library, the heavy key cooling my palm and the thick envelope feeling like a block of ice. Elara Harrington. He had written my true name. A name I was never allowed to use. A name Marcus had just publicly mocked. Right at the moment my father was taking his last breath, my mind flashes back to his speech. An empire dedicated to family. A name untainted. A cold, clarifying rage, sharper than any grief, cuts through me. Thorne is watching me. His expression, unreadable. My instructions are fulfilled. Ms. Vance, he says, deliberately using my safe name. The rest is for you to decide. Good evening. He nods, snaps his briefcase shut, and walks out of the library, leaving me alone with the ghosts. My fingers tremble as I break the wax seal. It cracks with a sound like a small bone snapping. I pull out a single, folded sheet of heavy cream stationery. The handwriting is weak, but the words are furious. My dearest Alara, I am a coward. I have been a coward for 27 years. I am dying. And the thought of facing my brother in whatever comes next without confessing the truth is a terror greater than death itself. My brother, not yours. I have to read the line 3 times. My brother, not yours. You are not my daughter. Iletta, you are my niece. You are the one and only child of my older brother, Julian Harrington, the co-founder and rightful 50% owner of Harrington Industries, and his wife, your mother, Oife. I sink into the nearest leather armchair, the letter shaking so hard I can barely read it. My mother, Afi, not the anonymous Irish housekeeper. An image fragments in my mind. A woman's laugh. The smell of paint and turpentine. A bright red ball. A memory I'd always dismissed as a dream. They didn't die in an accident 27 years ago. I let it happen. Isabella. He had written my stepmother's name, then crossed it out violently, tearing the paper. Isabella wanted it all. She saw Julian as weak, saw his kindness as a flaw. She convinced me he was running the company into the ground, that his charity projects would bankrupt us. So I stood aside. She arranged the boating accident. A cut through a line. An explosion so fast. They never stood a chance. The room is spinning. I can't breathe. Murder. My sin was greater. I didn't just let them die. I stole you. You were 2 years old. We told the world you were my bastard child. A stain of my own making. It was Isabella's cruel genius. By making you my shame. We hid you in plain sight. We made you invisible. You could live in this house. A constant, private punishment for my guilt. But you could never, ever claim your birthright. You, Iletta, are the owner of half of this company, half of everything. And I let them treat you like a servant. I let my own children mock you. I funded your life with your own stolen money. I am so sorry. It is not enough. The key. It opens Julian's old study in the West Wing. It has been sealed since his death. Isabella was always too superstitious to go near it. Inside, in his desk, you will find his original partnership agreement, his personal ledgers, and his original will. It is all there. It is the proof. Do not trust Thorne. He knows, but he works for Isabella now. Do not trust anyone. Use the mind I saw in you. The one that fixed that clock. The one I tried to nurture with those books. Your father's mind. Forgive me, Arthur. I am not crying. I am frozen. Every act of kindness he ever showed me the books. The tuition was just a pathetic, cowardly drop of penance in an ocean of unimaginable theft and blood. I clutch the key. My hand is perfectly steady now. I stand up and walk out of the library, down the marble hall, my servant's shoes making no sound. I move past the grand staircase where my mother supposedly fell, Ali, past the ballroom, still smelling of champagne and deceit. I go to the West Wing. It's dark, cold, and covered in dust cloths. At the end of the hall is a door I've been told my entire life was sealed due to structural issues. The key slides into the lock with a heavy, oiled click. I push the door open. The air is stale, smelling of old paper, leather, and something faint. Turpentine. It's a perfect time capsule. A massive desk. Shelves of engineering and art books. Blueprints for the company's first projects. On the wall, a large, sun-drenched painting of a woman with wild, dark red hair and laughing green eyes, holding a little girl with my face. The girl is holding a bright red ball. I walk to the desk. It's unlocked. I pull open the main drawer, and there it is. A thick file labeled J, H, and a H. Partnership agreement. Beside it, a heavy, leather-bound book. A will. I am not Ilara Vance. The ghost. I am not Ilara Harrington. The shame. I am Ilara Harrington. The heir. And they have no idea I'm here. What would you do if you discovered your entire life was a lie built on murder? Tell me your first move in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because the reading of this will is going to be one you won't want to miss. I've just opened the will, my eyes scanning the legal text, when I hear it, a footstep in the hall outside. Then, a sharp, cold voice. Who is in there? I thought I heard that door open. It's Isabella. And she's coming closer. My blood runs colder than the stale air in the study. I'm holding the will, the proof of my identity, of their crime, and the murderer is standing in the doorway. Isabella flicks on the hall light, illuminating her in the doorframe. Her perfect silver blonde hair is pinned up. Her black gala dress impeccable. She looks every bit the grieving widow, a queen in mourning. Then her eyes adjust to the darkness where I stand, and they narrow. Ilara. Her voice is sharp, confused. What are you doing? This room is sealed. She takes a step inside, her gaze sweeping over the dusty room, landing on the painting of my mother. A look of pure, venomous hatred flashes across her face. How did you get in here? She demands, her voice dropping the mask of confusion and hardening into steel. I don't move from behind the desk. I don't hide the papers. I simply place my hand flat on my father's, my uncle's will. Arthur gave me the key. I say, my voice steady, betraying none of the adrenaline coursing through me. Isabella's perfectly sculpted face twitches. Arthur gave you. She starts to laugh. A dry, humorless sound. Of course. One final, sentimental act of weakness from a weak man. What did he leave you? Some trinket, a small apology fund for your pitiful life. She waves a dismissive hand. Whatever it is, I'll have Thorne double it. Now get out. This room is to be permanently sealed in the morning, along with all of his things. She gestures at the painting, at the desk, at my entire stolen legacy. His things, I ask. My voice quiet. You mean my father's things? Isabella freezes. The air in the room crackles. What did you call him? She whispers. Julian. My father, I say, louder this time. I hold up the letter. Or should I say, what Arthur called him. My uncle. The color drains from Isabella's face. She finally sees the will in my hand. The partnership agreement on the desk. She lunges, her queenly composure shattering into raw panic. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're hysterical. Give me those. I don't flinch as she snatches at the letter. I'm 29. Strong from years of building my own life. Not a terrified child anymore. She is 60. Her strength rooted in cruelty. Not muscle. I hold the documents easily out of her reach. Get out. I repeat. Get out of my father's study. Your father, she shrieks, dropping all pretense. Your father was a weak, sentimental fool who would have bankrupted this company. He and your stupid charity case, mother. They would have given it all away. I did what was necessary. You murdered them. I say. The words hang in the dusty air. Stark and horrifying. It was an accident, she screams. Her eyes bulging. A tragic accident, that's what the paper said. That's what everyone knows. That's what you arranged. I counter. My voice like ice. That's what Arthur confessed. He confessed to letting you do it. He confessed to stealing me. To hiding me as his bastard to cover your tracks. Isabella's face contorts into a mask of pure rage. She realizes she can't overpower me. She straightens her dress, visibly pulling her composure back around her like a shield. It's your word against mine. You little ghost. She hisses. Her voice dangerously calm now. You are Ilara Vance, the housekeeper's bastard. I am Isabella Harrington, the grieving widow. Who do you think they will believe Thorn works for me? The board works for me. My children, Arthur's children, will stand by me. She smiles. A terrifying, reptilian twist of her lips. You have nothing. That paper in your hand is just the rambling of a dying, guilt-ridden man. It proves nothing. You're right, I say. And her smile widens. This letter, it's just a confession. But this, I tap the thick, leather-bound will. This is my father's original will. And this, I tap the partnership agreement. This is his 50% stake. All legally notarized. All dated before his accident. Her eyes widen. She'd forgotten about those. And you're wrong about something else. Isabella. I continue, I don't need anyone to believe me. I just need one person to believe these documents. Who? She spits. Thorn. A judge. I say. Tomorrow morning. At 9 a.m. I have a meeting with a new legal team. A team that doesn't report to you. And I'll be walking in with this. This. And this. And Arthur's confession. Just for context. I pick up my phone from the desk. Oh. And I'll be walking in with this. 2. I press a button on the screen. And Isabella's own voice floods the room. I did what was necessary. It was an accident, a tragic accident. That's what the papers said. I'd hit record in my pocket the second I heard her footsteps. She stares at the phone. At the audio wave dancing on the screen. For the first time in her life, Isabella Harrington is silent. She is checkmated. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. And if you've ever wanted to see a bully get put in their place, you need to hit that like and subscribe button. What happens at the will reading is going to be explosive. Isabella's breath is coming in ragged gasps. She looks from the phone to the documents to my face. Her mind racing. What do you want? She finally whispers. Money. You want money? I'll give you anything. I want you to call them. I say. Call who? Marcus and Serafina. And Thorn. I want you to call them to the library. For the official reading of Arthur's will. Right now. But Thorn won't come at this hour. He'll come if you tell him I've found Julian's study. He'll come if you tell him I have the will. Arthur's letter said, Thorn knows. He's complicit. He'll come to try and clean up your mess. Her hand is shaking as she pulls out her phone. And then what? You play that recording. You ruin us all. No, I say, walking past her toward the door. I hold the key. The letter. The will. And my phone. You're going to tell them the truth. You're going to confess. Or I will play this for the police. And I will take everything. The choice is yours. Isabella. You have 5 minutes. The Grand Library is a tomb. The air is thick with the smell of old leather and floor polish. I stand by the massive fireplace. The unlit logs looking like a funeral pyre. I've placed the 3 pieces of evidence on the polished mahogany desk, Julian's will, the partnership agreement, And Arthur's confession. My phone is in my hand. My thumb resting on the play button. It's 2:17 a.m. Marcus is the first to storm in. His face red. His tie pulled loose. What is the meaning of this? Isabella father is dead for 3 hours and you're calling a... What is she doing here? He glares at me. His lip curling. Go get us some coffee. Ilada. The adults are talking. I don't move. I just watch him. His arrogance is a reflex. A suit of armor he's worn his whole life. Serafina drifts in behind him. Her face pale. Her eyes red-rimmed from, I assume, crying for her Instagram story. Mother. This is ghoulish. Can't this wait? I need to process. Shut up. Serafina. Marcus snaps. This is about the will. Isn't it? And last-minute change. Did he leave the help a little something? It did? I say. My voice cutting through the room. They both stop and stare at me. Shocked I'd spoken. Before they can respond, the main door opens again, and Mr. Thorne, the lawyer, enters. He looks hurried. His expensive overcoat still on. He's holding his briefcase like a weapon. He sees me. Then the documents on the desk. And he understands instantly. His face goes rigid with a controlled panic. Isabella. This is highly irregular. Thonasis. His voice, a low growl. He turns to me. Ilada. You will give me those documents. They are part of Mr. Harrington's private estate and are not for you to handle. He's trying to re-establish control. To put me back in my box. No. I say simply. These documents are part of my father's estate, Julian Harrington. The name drops into the room like a bomb. Serafina gasps. Uncle Julian, he died before I was born. Marcus looks confused. What are you talking about, father's brother? What does that have to do with you? Thorna steps forward. Ilara is overtired and grieving. She is clearly confused. Processing the trauma of Arthur's passing. I am not confused. Mr. Thorne. I say. My voice ringing with an authority they have never heard. And I am not grieving. I am presiding. I look straight at Isabella. Her face is a mask of pure terror. Tell them. I say. She just shakes her head. Her eyes pleading with me. Tell them. I repeat. Or I will. When she remains silent, I turn to her children. You've been living a lie. Your father, Arthur, didn't co-found this company. He was a junior partner. The genius was his older brother, Julian. My father. This is insane. Marcus sputters. You're the housekeeper's daughter. You're nothing. I am Ilara Harrington, the 50% owner of this company. I say, tapping the partnership agreement. I am the sole heir to Julian Harrington's fortune, as outlined in this will, which your mother and Mr. Thorne here buried 27 years ago. I then hold up Arthur's letter, and I am the survivor of a murder. This is your father's deathbed confession, detailing how Isabella arranged the boating accident that killed my parents, detailing how Thorne here covered it up, detailing how they stole me, a 2-year-old child, and hid me in this house as Arthur's bastard to silence my claim to the inheritance you've been enjoying. Complete. Echoing silence. Marcus and Serafina are frozen, staring at me. Then at their mother. Then at Thorne. They look like their skeletons have been ripped out. Thorne is the first to recover. This is slander, a forgery, a pathetic, desperate attempt by a disgruntled servant to extort a grieving family. It's preposterous. I will have you arrested for this. Will you, I ask calmly? Will you call the police? Mr. Thorne, or should I? I look at Isabella. He thinks Arthur's letter is a lie. Isabella. He thinks I'm confused. Perhaps you should clear this up for him. I hold up my phone. You said I had no proof, that it was your word against mine, but the dead can speak. And so can you. I press play. Isabella's voice, high and shrieking, fills the library. I did what was necessary. It was an accident, a tragic accident. That's what the papers said. Marcus physically recoils. Serafina makes a small, strangled sound, her hand flying to her mouth. Mother, Marcus whispers, his voice breaking. Mother. What is that? What? What did you do? Isabella looks at her son, her favorite, the golden heir, who is now the heir to nothing. The mask of her face cracks, and the monster I've always known was underneath is finally visible. He was weak, she screams, her voice hoarse. Julian, he was giving it all away to charities, to his art. He would have left you with nothing. I did it for you. I did it for this family. I built this empire, me. The admission hangs in the air. Final and devastating. Serafina sinks to the floor, sobbing. You're a monster. Marcus just stares at her, his face ashen. All of it. All of it is blood money. Thorne looks at his watch. A bizarrely normal gesture in the midst of Armageddon. Isabella, he says, his voice dead. You need a criminal lawyer. I am no longer your counsel. He snaps his briefcase shut and, without looking at anyone else, walks out of the library and out of their lives. I watch the family I've served my whole life completely implode. The queen is dethroned. The prince and princess are orphans of a lie. I stop the recording. I pick up my father's will, my father's company, and my uncle's confession. This house, this company, this name. It's all mine, I say, my voice flat and final. As of this moment, you are all trespassing. I walk to the door, past Serafina, who is weeping on the carpet, and past Marcus, who looks like a statue. I stop at the door and look back at Isabella. She is staring into the cold fireplace, utterly broken. I wasn't the ghost in this house. Isabella, I say, you've been haunting my father's home for 27 years. Your haunting is over. I walk out of the library and don't look back. The sound of Serafina's desperate, broken sobs follows me down the hall. But I don't slow down. I leave them in the tomb they built. I go straight to the main kitchen, the enormous, stainless steel heart of the house. A place I was only ever allowed to enter to clean or serve. It's 3 a.m. I turn on every light. I open the $30 000 refrigerator, past the champagne and caviar for the gala, and find the imported coffee beans. I grind them, the noise echoing like a gunshot in the silent mansion. As the coffee brews, I sit at the massive marble island. This is the first time in my life I've ever sat here. I take my phone and call my own lawyer, a sharp, young partner at a boutique firm who helped me with my tech contracts. Ben, I say when he picks up, his voice thick with sleep. It's Ilara Vance. I'm sorry to wake you. I have an emergency. Ilara, what's wrong? Is it the family? You have no idea? I say, I need you at your office at 7 a.m. I'm about to blow up one of the biggest families in the state. And I think I need to report a 7-year-old double homicide. There's a long pause. I'll clear the schedule. 7 a.m. As the first gray light of dawn spills into the kitchen, I drink my coffee. I haven't slept. I feel strangely, terrifyingly calm. I've been a ghost for 29 years. Now, I'm a person. At 6:02 a. The doorbell rings. I go to the front door, the grand, imposing entrance I was never allowed to use, and open it. 2 uniformed officers are there. "Ma'am, we received an anonymous 911 call." The dispatcher said something about to a confession to a murder. "Yes," I say. Stepping aside, "I made the call. Please, come in. The person you need to speak to is in the library." I lead them down the hall. The scene is exactly as I left it. Isabella is sitting in a high-backed chair, staring into the cold fireplace. Her expensive gala dress rumpled. She looks 100 years old. Marcus is slumped on the sofa, his head in his hands, perfectly still. Serafina is gone. "Mrs. Harrington," the officer asks, approaching Isabella cautiously. "We're here to—" "Ma'am, are you all right?" Isabella turns her head slowly. Her eyes are empty. "It was for my family," she whispers. "I did it for them." The officer's hand moves to his radio. "Ma'am, I need you to be quiet." "No," Isabella says, a strange, final smile playing on her lips. "I'm done being quiet. I killed them. Julian and his Irish whore. I killed them. And I'd do it again." She stands up, her hands held out. "You can arrest me now." Marcus lets out a sound, a terrible, strangled gasp, and scrambles to his feet. "Mother." "No, shut up, you don't know what you're saying, it's true." "Marcus," I say from the doorway. I hold up my phone, where I've been recording again. She's just confessed. Again. I hand the phone to the second officer, and here is the will proving my identity, and the confession of Arthur Harrington. I watch as they read Arthur's letter. I watch as they listen to the first recording. I watch as they put handcuffs on the wrists of Isabella Harrington, as they lead her out into the bright morning light. She doesn't look at me. She looks at Marcus. "It was all for you," she says. He just stares. His face, a mask of horror. We stand on the marble steps, watching the police car pull away. The Queen is gone. Marcus turns to me. His entire world, his entire identity, dissolved into ash. You did this," he whispers, his voice shaking with a pathetic, powerless rage. "You, serpent. After we gave you a home, you gave me an attic," I say, my voice cold. "You gave me your leftovers. You stole my name, my inheritance, and my parents, and I just took it back." What happens to us?" he asks. The fight draining out of him, replaced by a child's terror. Where do we go? It's strange. You watch someone your whole life, someone who has all the power, all the confidence. You see them as a giant, and then you see them in the moment. Their power is gone. And you realize they were never a giant. They were just a hollow shell, built on a lie. Psychologists have a term for this identity foreclosure. It's when a person never explores their own identity. They just accept the one given to them by their parents. Marcus wasn't a man. He was just the Harrington heir. And now that title is gone. He's nothing. He doesn't know who he is. Serafina appears at the top of the stairs, her face streaked with ruined makeup, carrying a suitcase. She doesn't say a word. She walks past Marcus, past me, out the front door, and gets into an awaiting Uber. She, at least, has an escape plan. Marcus just stands there, paralyzed. "You have 24 hours. I say to him. "What? You have 24 hours to get your things and get out of my house." Then I'm changing the locks. I turn and walk down the steps, not waiting for a reply. I have a 7 a.m. meeting to get to. I have a company to claim. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments. Have you ever had a moment where you saw someone's power just disappear? Hit that like and subscribe button. Because you are not going to believe what happens when I walk into the boardroom. To story 2. I'm Emma, 26. I'm standing in my childhood living room, the one with the clear plastic still covering the good sofa. I have my PhD diploma in one hand and a baby bump under my sweater that I just can't hide anymore. My father, Stephen, a man who quotes dead poets but has never published his own, just stares. His face goes from confusion to pure rage. A disgrace. He finally says, his voice low, all that education, wasted. Get out. My mother, Cynthia, clutching her book club newsletter like a shield, chimes in, you can't stay here. Emma, what will the neighbors think? And just like that, my homecoming was over. The real kicker, they hadn't even asked who the father was. If they had, well, let's just say their reaction would have been very, very different. Let me back up and explain how we got here. I met William 6 years ago. We were both at Columbia, drowning in a modernist poetry seminar. He was the only one in the room who looked as miserable as I felt. We bonded over burnt, bitter cafeteria coffee, complaining about tea. S. Eliot. He was funny, brilliant, and kind. He was also William Ashford, as in the son of Richard Ashford, the CEO of the biggest, most prestigious publishing house in New York City. Now, for 99% of the world, that's just a cool fact. For me, it was a disaster. My father, Stephen, is a community college professor with the bitter, unpublished soul of a man who believes he's the next Hemingway. For my entire life, my father's identity has been wrapped up in the manuscript, his one great novel, and for 20 years, he has submitted that exact manuscript to one publisher, Richard Ashford's, and for 20 years, they have rejected him. His bitterness is a fog in our house. He blames the industry, blames commercialism, blames who you know. He was the reason I hid. I just knew, that if my father found out I was dating William, he wouldn't see me. He wouldn't see William. He'd see an in. I could picture it perfectly. Him patting William on the back at a barbecue. So, son, since we're basically family, I have this manuscript. The thought made my stomach turn. I couldn't do that to William. I couldn't do it to Richard, who had no idea I even existed. So, we lived 2 lives. In Manhattan, we were the couple. Everyone knew. We shared an apartment. We went to parties. We were us. But when we'd go home to New Jersey for holidays, we drove separately. We were just 2 acquaintances from Columbia, home for the weekend. The secret was exhausting. 6 years is a long time to hide the person you love. We had a plan. I'd finish my PhD. I'd get my own book deal, on my own merit. Then, I'd tell them, I would stand on my own 2 feet. So my father couldn't claim I'd used anyone. Then, 2 pink lines on a plastic stick blew that timeline to pieces. And I found myself 5 months pregnant, driving home to New Jersey with my diploma and the one thing I thought would finally make them proud. The drive from Manhattan to suburban New Jersey always felt like going backward in time. The city, full of energy, and my future, shrank in the rearview mirror, replaced by identical houses and suffocating quiet. I'd practiced my speech the whole way. I clutched the symbol of my victory, the one thing I thought could protect me. It was a simple, bound stack of pages with a plain cover, a galley copy, an advance proof of my first book. My PhD was one thing too abstract for them to brag about properly. But a book published by the most famous house in New York. This, I thought, this was the trophy they could finally understand. This was the proof. Proof that I was a success. Proof that I was worthy. Proof that the other news, the baby, was just another part of a successful life. Not the end of one. I pulled into the driveway. Same house. Same perfectly manicured lawn. Same sense of dread that always settled in my stomach when I parked. Emma, you're late. My mother, Cynthia, opened the door. Her eyes immediately doing a full-body scan. You look tired. Hi, Mom. It's good to see you. Too. My father, Stephen, was in his study. Surrounded by books he admired but hadn't written. He looked up, annoyed at the interruption. Stephen, Emma's here. My mother called. He came out, and I stood there, my two announcements warring in my throat. I decided to lead with the triumph. I have some news, I said, my voice shaking a little. Actually, two things. First, I held out the galley. It's my book. It's being published in the spring. By Ashford. My mother squinted at it, not taking it. Oh, that's nice, dear. My father's reaction was different. He froze. His eyes locked onto the name Ashford Publishing on the plain cover. A strange mix of jealousy and, was that pride? He slowly reached out and took it. He stared at my name on the cover. Well, he said, his voice thick. So you finally did it. I felt a rush of relief, so strong my knees went weak. He was proud. He finally saw me. And there's one other thing, I said, taking a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Silence. My mother's face crumpled. Pine and oh. Emma, how could you? You're not married. You're throwing your entire life away. No. Mom, I'm not. I'm engaged. We're getting married. William, pregnant. My father repeated. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the book in his hands. His face, which had held a flicker of pride, now hardened into something I knew all too well. Contempt. He looked at me, then at my stomach, then back at the book. And then, he did it. He tossed it. He tossed the galley copy of my book onto the coffee table, like it was a week-old magazine. This, he said, waving his hand at it. This doesn't matter now. This is useless. What I couldn't breathe. It's tainted, he yelled, his face turning red. You had one job, Emma, to be brilliant, to be perfect. We gave you everything, and you throw it all away to be just another girl who got herself in trouble. You've ruined it. You've ruined everything. Ruined what I cried. It's a book deal. It's a baby. It's good news. It's shame. My mother whispered, her hand over her mouth. What will I tell the book club? I don't care about the book club. Mom, I'm engaged to William Ashford. I thought the name would be a bomb. It was. Just not the one I expected. My father laughed. A short, bitter, ugly sound. Of course you are. You think I didn't know. You think I couldn't see you sniffing around that family for years. You didn't earn this book deal. Emma, you slept your way into it. And now you've trapped him. My God. You're not my daughter. You're a cliché. The cruelty of it knocked the air out of me. He didn't just reject me. He rewrote my entire life's work as a lie. Get out, he said, his voice flat and cold. What? Get out. Take your shame. and get out of this house. You are not the daughter I raised. The daughter I raised was a scholar. You're a disgrace." I looked at my mother. She just shook her head, tears in her eyes, and turned away from me. I stood there for a second, stunned. The galley, my trophy, lay open on the table. My father, the failed writer, had just banished his published daughter. I picked up my suitcase. I didn't grab the book. I left it there, on the table, tainted. And I walked out the door. The door slammed shut. The sound was so final. I just stood on the porch for a minute. The anger I expected to feel was just gone, replaced by this hollow, cold numbness. I made it to my car, got in, and just sat in their driveway for 10 minutes, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I had my PhD. I had a book deal. I had a baby on the way. And I was, for all intents and purposes, homeless. I finally started the car and drove. With no destination in mind, I ended up at a bus stop a few miles away. One of those little glass enclosures. The rain had started. A cold, miserable New Jersey drizzle. I sat on the metal bench, my suitcase next to me, and watched the cars hiss by on the wet pavement. Homeless. My father's word. My mother's fear. And here I was. I pulled out my phone and called William. My hands were shaking so hard, I had to try twice. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, you." His voice was warm, full of hope. "How did it go? Are you celebrating? Do I need to get champagne ready?" A sound came out of my throat. Half laugh, half sob. About as well as the Titanic. They kicked me out. The silence on the other end was heavy. What his voice was flat. "They what? Kicked me out?" I repeated, my voice breaking. "My dad. He said I was a disgrace. He said, I slept my way into the book deal and trapped you." I heard him swear. A sharp, violent sound. "Where are you right now? Emma, tell me exactly where you are." "I don't even know." "A bus stop. By the highway. I'm just going to get a motel room for the night. We can figure it out tomorrow." "You absolutely will not," he said, his voice hard. Not with anger at me, but with a protective fury I'd never heard before. "Stay exactly where you are. I'm sending a car. Do not move." "William, you don't have to. I'm sending Thomas. He'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. 20 minutes later, just as I was starting to shiver, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. Thomas, the Ashford's driver, got out. He didn't say a word. Didn't even look surprised to find his boss's future daughter-in-law at a rainy bus stop. He just took my suitcase, opened the back door for me, and we drove away. We drove out of New Jersey, back into Manhattan, back toward the life I'd built. I thought he was taking me to my apartment, but we passed the turn. We kept going, all the way to the Upper West Side, stopping in front of one of those massive, pre-war buildings that looks more like a museum than a place people live. Thomas led me into the lobby, took me to the private elevator, and rode up with me. The doors opened directly into an apartment, a penthouse. The foyer was bigger than my parents' entire first floor, and standing there, in the middle of the marble floor, wasn't William. It was his father, Richard Ashford, the CEO, the man my father had spent a lifetime cursing. He was in a cashmere sweater, looking not angry, not disappointed. He just looked sad. "For me, Emma," he said, his voice quiet. He walked over and, to my complete shock, pulled me into a hug. "You're safe now. Come in. Your home. Richard led me past the massive foyer, past art on the walls that I knew, even in my days, belonged in a museum. He guided me into a warm, comfortable library, all dark wood and soft leather chairs, a fire crackling in the fireplace. I was still shaking from the cold rain and the shock. "Sit down, Emma," he said gently, settling me into a chair that felt like a cloud. A woman I didn't know appeared, and Richard spoke to her. "Maria, could you please bring some tea? And perhaps a plate of whatever cook has, and please, prepare the blue guest suite." I can't," I stammered, the tears starting to fall again, hot and heavy. "Richard, I'm so sorry. I didn't know where else to go. William, just..." He sent the car. "I've brought this scandal to your door. My father," he said. I couldn't even finish the sentence. I was ugly crying now. The kind of sobs that steal your breath. I was homeless. I was pregnant. And I was crying in the penthouse of one of the most powerful men in New York. A man my father despised. Richard just waited patiently until the sobs quieted a little. He knelt in front of the chair. Not in a weird way, but like a father would. He looked me right in the eye. "Emma," he said. And his voice was so firm, so steady. It cut right through my panic. "Stop. You don't need to apologize for anything. Not here. Not to us. But the scandal. And my father. I'm imposing." He held up a hand, silencing me. "Let me be very clear. So you hear this. William has loved you for 6 years. We, Elizabeth and I, we have loved you for 6 years. He blinked, confused. "But I thought you didn't know." "Oh, sweetheart," he smiled. A small, sad smile. "We knew? We've always known. We just respected that you both had your reasons for privacy." He paused, his expression growing serious again. "Your book deal is wonderful. Emma, we are incredibly proud of you. But you were family long before that. This is your home. You don't earn your place here. You just have it." I stared at him. "You don't earn your place here." My entire life, I had been earning it. Perfect grades. The PhD. The book. Everything was a performance to earn the right to be loved, to be kept. And in one night, my father had told me I'd failed the audition. And here, this man, who owed me nothing, was telling me that my place here was a given, that it wasn't a prize to be won, but a space that was just too mean. I didn't say anything. I just cried again. But this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from a sense of relief so profound. It felt like a dam inside me had finally broken. I woke up in a bed that felt like sleeping on a high-end cloud. The blue guest suite Richard had mentioned was a full apartment, with its own sitting room and a view of Central Park that I'm pretty sure my parents' entire house could fit into. I was drinking the tea Maria had brought when there was a soft knock. It wasn't Richard this time. It was Elizabeth, William's mother. She was exactly as I'd always pictured her: elegant, intelligent, looking like she could command a boardroom in her silk blouse. But her eyes, as she looked at me, were just kind. She came over and sat on the edge of the bed, not formally, but like a friend. "How are you, Emma?" she asked. "And, I mean, really, how are you?" The dam I'd been holding back just broke. "I'm so stupid, Elizabeth," I whispered, the shame washing over me again. "I'm so stupid. I really, truly believed that if I just accomplished enough, that the PhD, And then the book. I thought it would finally be enough. Enough for them to finally be proud. Enough for them to love me. All I did was show them another way I'd failed. Elizabeth listened patiently. Her expression unreadable. I expected pity. Or maybe confusion. I got something else entirely. I got understanding. "Oh, Emma," she said, her voice soft but firm, like a surgeon's. It was never, ever going to be enough. "You don't understand people like your parents." I looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" She took my hand. Her rings were cool against my skin. "For people like your father," she said, "a child isn't a person. A child is a trophy." I just stared at her. "It's true," she continued. Her gaze steady. "He polishes that trophy. He shows it off to his friends at the college. He brags about its achievements. He puts it on the mantle. Because it's not about the trophy. It's about him. It's an extension of his own ego. Your success makes him feel successful." She leaned in a little closer. "But the second that trophy gets a scratch, the second it does something he can't brag about, he doesn't feel sad for the trophy. He feels ashamed for himself. And he hides it in the attic so no one can see it." "My God," I breathed. "It was never about you, Emma," she said, squeezing my hand. "It was always about him. Your PhD was his. Your book deal was his. But your pregnancy, your scandal, oh, that was all yours. In his mind, you didn't just fail yourself. You failed him. You scratched his prized possession." It was a horrible, perfect, devastating truth. And in that moment, 26 years of trying to be perfect, of feeling like I was always one mistake away from this, it all made a terrible, clicking kind of sense. As I was trying to even process that, my phone, which I'd left on the nightstand, buzzed. I flinched. It was a text from my sister, Grace, the first one I'd gotten since I left. I read it, my hands shaking. Then I read it again, out loud. "Mom and Dad are freaking out," I said, my voice hollow. "Someone from Mom's book club saw me get into a black SUV. They're going crazy. She wants to know what is going on." Now, a week went by. A week of sleeping in that beautiful room. Of being brought meals I didn't ask for. Of William, Richard, and Elizabeth forming a protective circle around me. They were planning a small wedding. Talking about the baby. Making me feel normal. Making me feel wanted. Then, Richard had an idea. "We're hosting a launch party for one of our authors on Friday," he announced over dinner. "I think you should invite them." I just stared at him. "Invite who? My parents?" "Yes," he said calmly. "They're panicking. Emma, your sister Grace has called William twice, saying your mother is beside herself. They know you're here. They know they made a mistake. Let's give them one last chance. On our terms. To be family." "Richard." "No," I pleaded. "You don't know them." "He's right, honey," Elizabeth chimed in, putting her hand on mine. "This limbo isn't good for you or the baby. Let them come. Let them see you're safe and loved. Let them apologize." So, against my better judgment, I unblocked my mother's number and sent a single text. "Richard and Elizabeth Ashford have invited you to their home, Friday at 7. I didn't say it was a party. Part of me, I guess, felt that was a kindness. They probably thought it was a private Samba intervention. A reconciliation. Friday came. The penthouse, which had been a quiet warm refuge, was transformed. It was glittering. Hundreds of people from the New York literary world, authors, agents, critics, all mingling, drinking champagne, and talking. The noise was a happy, sophisticated roar. I was in a simple black dress that showed my bump, standing next to William, and I actually felt happy. At 7:15, Thomas, the driver, buzzed up from the lobby. "They're here." I watched from across the room as they stepped out of the elevator. It would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. They were expecting a quiet, suburban living room. They got the heart of the New York elite. My mother, Cynthia, was wearing her best outfit, a beige skirt suit that screamed New Jersey Book Club. She was clutching her purse like a life raft, her eyes wide, just gawking at the floor-to-ceiling windows and the crowd. My father, Stephen, was in his worn-out professor's blazer, his good one. He looked small and angry and totally out of his element. He looked intimidated. My mother saw me and started to weave through the crowd, a fake, bright smile plastered on her face. "Emma, darling." But my father, he didn't follow her. He stopped. He was staring, not at me, but at a hallway that I knew led to Richard's home office. He just wandered off, detached from my mother, drawn by some invisible string. I watched him go, a small, bitter man, walking down a hallway in a house built on the success he'd always craved and never achieved. He disappeared into the office. I had a terrible, sinking feeling. He was in there for maybe 5 minutes. When he came out, his face was... I'd never seen that color. It was white, a waxy, bloodless white. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, like he'd just been told he was dying. He stumbled back into the party, just as my mother reached me, and just as Richard Ashford stepped up to the small, raised platform, tapping a champagne glass for attention. The room hushed. Richard Ashford, CEO, clinked his champagne glass. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice easily filling the space. He gave a wonderful toast to the author, whose book was launching. And then he didn't step down. He smiled. And now, for a little surprise, it's rare that we get to celebrate 2 brilliant authors in one night. My stomach dropped. Many of you know my son, William, but you may not know his incredible partner, Dr. Emma. He paused, looking right at me. I've had the privilege of reading the advance copy of her first book, which we will be publishing this spring. And I can tell you, without a word of exaggeration, she is the real future of American literature. A talent I haven't seen in 30 years. He raised his glass to Emma. The entire room turned, glasses raised, smiling at me. William was beaming, squeezing my hand. Elizabeth was watching me with tears in her eyes. And I saw my father. He was standing by the hallway, that waxy, sick color. His face was a mask of pure, unadulterated jealousy. The trophy he had tossed on the table a week ago was now being celebrated by the one man he'd spent his life trying to impress. After the applause died down, my parents were on me. They pushed through the crowd. My mother's face a mask of desperate, sycophantic joy. "Emma, darling," she gushed, grabbing my arm. "We heard, oh, we're so proud. We knew you had it in you. We overreacted." "Pumpkin," my father cut in, his voice attempting warmth and failing, sounding strangled. His eyes were darting around, looking at Richard, at the important guests. "We were just shocked. You have to understand. We're so sorry." He was trying to smile. This man, who had called me a disgrace, was now trying to ride my coattails. He was looking at me like, like his trophy was back, polished and new. And he wanted to be the one to hold it. And I looked at them, really looked at them. The woman who worried about the book club, the man who saw my success as his and my failure as mine alone, all my life. I'd been that girl with the PowerPoint, that girl with the galley, just begging for a single scrap of unconditional love. And I felt nothing, no anger, no pain, just quiet. The part of me that had been wired to seek their approval had finally, blessedly, gone dark. I wasn't their daughter anymore. I wasn't their trophy. I was just me. I smiled. A small, sad, polite smile. "I'm sorry you are so disappointed," I said quietly, my voice perfectly steady. Their smiles faltered. "What? No, dear. We're not disappointed. But I'm not," I continued, cutting my mother off. "For the first time in my life, I'm not disappointed at all. Elizabeth was right. You never saw me. You just saw something you could brag about." My father's face went from white to red. "Now, you listen here." "No," I said, and the power in that single word silenced him. "I'm done listening. You're right, Dad. I'm not the daughter you wanted, and I'm finally done trying to be." I looked at my mother, then my father, the two people who were supposed to be my anchor and had been my storm. "You are not part of my story anymore. Please leave." For a moment, nobody moved. The buzz of the party, the clinking glasses, it all just faded. My mother stared at me, her fake smile frozen. My father's face was a terrible shade of purple. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He had been silenced, not by Richard Ashford, CEO, but by me. Richard, sensing the moment, gave a subtle nod. A man in a simple black suit, someone I hadn't noticed before, stepped up to my father. "Sir." "Madam," he said, his voice polite but iron. "If you'll follow me." Their collapse wasn't loud. It wasn't financial ruin. It was something worse for them. It was a social death. It was the quiet, humiliating walk of shame. Escorted out of a party they weren't good enough for. By a daughter they were no longer good enough for. My mother looked back once, her eyes wide and pleading. I just looked away. And as the elevator doors slid shut, I felt the last tiny thread that connected me to that old life, that old approval-seeking girl. Just snap. The story flashes forward 6 months. I'm not in a penthouse. I'm in a room painted a soft, buttery yellow. There's a white crib in the corner, and the afternoon sun is streaming in. I'm in a rocking chair, and I'm holding our son, Leo. William is sitting on the floor, leaning against my legs, his eyes closed, just listening. I'm holding something else in my other hand. It's my book, not the galley, but the real, hardcover book, with my name on the jacket. I'm reading aloud, but not the story. I'm reading the first page. The dedication. For William, I read. My voice thick with a happiness I never knew could exist. And for Leo, you are my home. William opens his eyes, looks up at me, and smiles. He kisses my hand, and then our son's head. This was it. This was the family I had built. Not the one I was given, but the one I had chosen. My parents taught me that family is something you have to earn, something you can be kicked out of. But Richard, and Elizabeth, and William, they taught me that true family is just the place you belong. New questions asked, Have you ever had to choose your own family over the one you were born into? Let me know your story in the comments.